Yo, what's up, guys? Just wanted to switch up that opening a little bit. Anyways, welcome back to ArtosisCasts. Today we're going to be taking a look at a second game of Speed, one of our best Terran players that we're really kind of expecting to make a big splash, going up against Paralyze. Obviously Speed playing some pretty aggressive Terran. We did get to see him versus Paralyze, and I'm really starting to question about some of these like really fast third builds and if they can hold on against speed shuttles, right? So I think that's where we kind of left off with these two, and we've seen Flash kind of dive into that area as well. And I'm very excited to see the answer. Like, I really hope that this game is going to be like kind of a standard opener. Let's see. I mean, he might. Oh, it's a Nexus first cross spawn. Okay, well, we tried. They're so good at going Nexus first and cross spawn. It's so amazing. So Paralyze, obviously, getting ready to win ASL here with these great plays. Looking down here at Speed, actually the positioning of this, it's very, very likely this turns into a gasless expansion. Yep, Scouts on 12, there you go. That's just like how you play this build, is you go for the 11 racks and then you scout on 12. You never do that with a gas expand. So this will be a gasless expansion, which is going to be as good as he can do against cross spawn Nexus first. Does look like Paralyze is not going to cross scout, so that's at least good. If he were to cross scout, then he could really get greedy with his build. But as is, he might go for 2 gateway here. And if he goes for the 2 gateway, then we'll call it approximately even between the two builds. So let's see about that. The barracks just about to finish, and he'll just come down and make that CC right away. Starts at Marine, and he does go for that second depot. That's trending. That's trending in the pro scene. Like, that really went away for a while. I started to think that like they thought this build was like too unoptimized, but this is like this safety play. I first saw the double depot one popping up a few years ago, but yeah, it didn't really stay around. Like, people really went back to the 1 depot, but like I mentioned before, the second depot adds this stability where if a zealot randomly walks here, you don't automatically lose the game. If you micro-well, you're going to be fine. So anyways, goes for the gas. The 2 Marines will push back this probe. Meanwhile, the Nexus is finishing with the command center about, 20% of the way done. So obviously still a lot faster here, but nothing super big going on. He tried to dash by and lost it. So I don't think he even knows what's going on here. And in fact, obviously Speed does not know. He's making a bunker right now, which he definitely doesn't need right at the second. But obviously he hasn't scouted what's going on. But yeah, only a single zealot being made here by Paralyze. So I think we actually are going to have ourselves like a reasonable looking game here. And look at how far up he puts this. Wow. If there were mass goons up here, this would be like a really annoying position to try to hold, but this is very good positioning on that barracks as well. So anyways, he did get up here and see what was going on. The zealot actually ended up killing the SCV, so both of them losing their opening scouts. And are we going to see the robo? There's the second gas, and he hasn't started range yet, so it does look like this is just going to be a very, very fast robo. And there it is. Double factory coming up as quickly as Speed can get them. And yeah, I mean, this game is super wide open. Like, they're both doing builds that don't really pressure each other early on. But, it could turn into that, right? Like, you could see this go into Reaver right away, which would really be the only way to pressure. You wouldn't go, like, Range, Goon, Observer, and Pressure. You'd just take a third very quickly with that. But it could go directly into Reaver. Excuse me. And looking down at Speed side... okay, so he is absolutely going to pressure. So he's gone into a very fast 3 factory, which has been... It's been popping up a little bit. right? Like you go for the 2 add-ons and you're going to make some tanks and then you're going to pump out some mass vulture to try to attack. Now, what you want to hit with this is actually what we're very likely to see here. But actually, he has the second gas, so I think we're going to see Reaver tech into the 3rd base. But like if you just do this build and take a 3rd base very fast, I feel like that's going to be what this wants to hit. But he took the gas very, very quickly. So it does feel like, you know, we're going to have like consistent Dragoon production, observers into Reaver very likely here. And in fact, making multiple observers right now. One Dragoon running across the map. We do have multiple siege tanks being made as well as a vulture. And he is actually going into Academy as his detection here and as some scouting as well. Now, as these 3 tanks pop out, that's like the go time. He's got speed and mines on the way. It'll be pure vulture from here. And you can see that like he's got the second gas, but he literally stopped mining it completely because this is such a mineral heavy build. This is actually really hard to afford everything that he's doing right now, right? Because 3 factory vulture basically have to make a depot every 20 seconds. So it's like you make a depot and you wait like 5 seconds, you make another depot. And like that's how you kind of keep the vultures going. And so it's like you're affording a ton of vultures. You're trying to get your SCVs out. You're trying to hit your depots. And if you get supply blocked with this, it's going to turn into a trash build very, very quickly. But as is, he's moving out across the map. He actually scans to kill the observer. Wow. Okay. Well, if you see an observer there, you know there's not a whole hell of a lot of else that you're going to need the scans for. There's no way there's going to be observer plus DT or something like that. So there was a secondary scan. Starts to move out here, lays a few mines. Okay, the vultures pop up and see this 3rd nexus. I think, like, is he going to attack the main army? I was going to say he might be able to just get a cancel on this, but comes up with those vultures as well. Definitely needs to get that zealot out of there. So the zealot is gone, laying some forward mines, but this is so many Dragoons that I'm surprised that speed is going this aggressively into this. Like, the build is kind of designed for this, but I feel like there was a better play here. Hold on, let's see exactly what he ends up with, because he's still got 2 tanks. He's still got a Marine in here that looks like it was targeted at full range, so froze. Tries to get some vultures up here, but doesn't seem like there's a lot of damage. So now we're looking at this position where it's 36 SCVs to 51 probes. And despite the build, you know, it being like very quick and everything, like he got one of the second quickest expansion you really ever see in this matchup. You know, it's turned pretty bad. It's turned pretty bad for him. Yeah, trying to pick off that one last Dragoon there. Does trade a couple vultures to get it. And trying to keep that pressure on as well. Notice that he has kept a vulture over here to deny mining for this whole time. So this is still kind of working. I'm still a little bit surprised about the way Speed did it, because he was attacking into like 9 goons and a zealot and observers up here with just 3 tanks. I feel like if he had sit back with these tanks, because look, now he's going to end up losing this very likely. Maybe he saves that one. Yeah, does end up picking that off. And he denied this a lot. So, like, that's really good, but he didn't actually get damaged. We actually have almost full probe saturation already here for Paralyze, who's getting into his Reaver tech as well. There's not a lot of Dragoons out here, but as long as he has enough to protect those probes, he's going to be pretty happy. Looking back at Speed's base, there's actually nothing special going on. He's making some missile turrets. There is an armory somewhere. Oh, there it is, kind of hidden down here. And he is adding some more factories, so getting him to 5. I think he'll go up to 6 factories probably, and adding missile turrets. So it's like, it's still okay. It's still like playable, but he's down 20 workers, right? He's on kind of like a 2-base all-in right now. Now, what I was kind of alluding to, right? When he brought the 3 tanks up around this side to hit these goons, the thing is, you can kind of delay and run around with the speed vultures a little bit and keep the Dragoons in a very defensive position here. And if you wait and kind of get siege, you can then move the tanks down, right? So he engaged here, but if you're like poking with the vultures, you're poking with the tanks, but not doing a full engage, you can pull back around here and hit a siege here and like put mines. And for Goon Observer, that's very hard to break. For a shuttle, not as much a problem, like if you went Reaver or something, but for the Goon Observer, it's like really, really hard, and I feel like you can be much more efficient there. So I feel like that was not maybe the correct way for him to go ahead and try to pull that off, right? The actual frontal attack. And as you can see, like, he's down 40 supply, look at this monster probe count. 4th Nexus coming up. We really shouldn't see even one more probe being made here on the other side. And even if he takes some harassment damage, it might actually do good for him. That is a lot of probes, 74. That's going to really bank for you. But yeah, he's just got to produce units nonstop at this point. I love the Templar Archives coming up. You know, he's got these Reavers, always playing like this, Paralyzes. And these Reavers are going to have to get some damage. I love the pull-up of the Vultures. Very well done by Speed. Forces the lift. None of his tanks taking damage as of yet. Laying some forward mines here. And he is going to lose a tank. Okay, good pick off there. Goon's coming down to help a little bit. And picks off the Goliath. Only one Goliath left over. Continuing to push up. All right, the Reavers are grinding him down a little bit. A lot of Zealots on the way. Zealot legs are almost here. And you can actually start to see some of the difference. Now, obviously, these were different openers than a lot of the Flash 6 facts we've seen. But I think what you're going to see here is he Paralyze is slowing Speed really, really well. And what's going to happen is he's just going to make 2 rounds of Zealots. Legs are going to finish. He's going to crush this if this is not in position. I think the only chance for Speed here is to get over here with his tanks. So he moves up with these Vultures. These Vultures are buying a bit of time. The rest of the army, I think, really has to go here. He might try to set up here. That feels a little bit greedy. There are some mines underneath here, so that could go wrong as well. 2 more Speed Shuttles coming out with Zealots in them as well. Yeah, dropping out on top of some of these mines. He does have a lot of Vultures, so comes up and starts hitting those Zealots. Tries to target the Reavers down. Gets one. The other one very, very low. Gets an excellent hit right there. The Dragoons starting to clear some of these. Really should pull back. No need to actually engage that. Right now, Paralyze is in complete control of this game. He's up 70 supply. About 20 of which is in workers. But still, that's a 50 supply advantage. So Speed's pulling back, right? So at least he pulled back. Now, if you lose this army, the game's 100% over. Like right now, I'm looking at this. I would put big money on Paralyze winning this game, but there's still some play left for Speed. 4 shuttles coming down, trying to lay some mines out. But yeah, he really did not hit the push timing in an area where it felt like he was going to be able to win. And now the macro is going to be gigantic. The Speed Shuttle is just going to fly over everything into the main. There's not enough turrets here. There is one back here, but he's going to unload. And, I mean, he's ready to hit the front here as well. Like, really? You could run up and kill those. Buying some time with those shuttles in the main base. Looks like Speed will clear that without too much damage, I think. But the Reaver actually gets back here, so he is killing a few SCVs as well. And, of course, the SCV count has not been fantastic this game, so any SCVs he loses is painful. The 4 shuttles going to try to vacate here. Probably lose a couple of them at least. Yeah, 2 of them go down, but he does get out that very red Reaver. 2 green shuttles still as well. Pushes down with these Dragoons. Very bad position here for Speed. Speed trying to hold on. Like, he's trying to make something of this game, but it's not a great position, right? If you're going to do one of these early 3 factory attacks, it does have to do something. You have to be really cleanly optimizing in some direction. And he was cleanly optimizing towards the attack, but the attack itself didn't do too much. And I mean, that we might end up taking a little look at that because that's really, really, really where he fell behind. Now, he is setting up over here, but it's twice the supply. Look at this. It's like max out against 100 supply. No one holds that ever. Showing the crazy power here of Nexus First holding an early attack. Like, if you attack Nexus First, it just has to do a lot of damage for you to have a chance in the game. So, kind of pushing in all over the place. There's really nothing left to speak of here. GG is called. Okay, I want to actually just jump back to the push-out timing to show exactly where we're at, right? So he has the 3 factory. Right, because right here, it's like, well, the probe count is still really, really good. And that's going to be exacerbated by the double comm sats. As I always talk about, that costs you 4 SCVs. So let's look at what that, as those finish, what the counts are. Okay, so let's look right here. This is as the push is starting, right? He just scanned to kill that observer, if you recall. So he's optimized towards 3 facts. We have 14 more workers for his opponent. So you 100% have to get something done. He has 3 factory playing against 2 gate. Okay, the gates come up a little bit quicker. Dragoons have the same build time as siege tanks. Okay, So these are just things to kind of try to keep in mind. The actual army supply is going to be pretty similar here. Obviously, we're traveling across the map, so it's important to rally vultures because they build quicker than dragoons and are going to get across the map quickly, right? So you're basically playing 3 production facilities. I mean, you don't really count the barracks here because it's just your initial Marines, right? Just like you don't really count the observers. Unless he had made like a ton of Marines, right? If he had made like 8 Marines for this, that's something different, but you can only do that with a 2-fact push. So anyways, he's moving out with that 3-factory push. And this is like the game, the die has already been cast in this game, right? It's cross spawn nexus first. His opponent is up in workers. He's doing a very aggressive build. So let's take a look at the movement here, because this is where the game was really lost. Okay, so here he is. Okay, I'm taking off the vision here of Paralyze. So he's got his units moving up. He's got a couple mines. I like to call these retreat mines. Laying a couple mines in the path back to your base is really important because dragoons are actually quicker than everything but the vultures. So what you do, and the dragoons are quicker than the observer too, just to make this clear, right? So if they're chasing, you run back over your mines, and if the dragoons are full speed chasing, which is what they need to do to catch up, they run into mines. So retreat mines are really important when you're doing a push like this, so you can save your units if you need to. Now he comes up here and sees the 3rd nexus, okay? So when you see this 3rd nexus, you already basically know everything, right? You already killed an observer. You see the 3rd nexus and it's getting close to done. You know they don't have a Reaver yet, right? The timing is crisp. Like, he knows all this. So the part that I had a hard time agreeing with is the direct push, right? Because they're all, like, when Protoss hits 8 dragoons, it's really hard to make these work because 8 dragoons one-shots a tank, right? 4 dragoons, 2 volleys on a tank, 2 volleys on a vulture, 1 volley on a marine. So it just, the Protoss army starts getting very efficient in the trades where they can just walk in and take giant hits and lose units, but they're picking off the tanks, so it doesn't matter as much. So let's take a look at this, right? He scouts what's going on. Let's take a look how far siege mode actually is. So siege mode just started. He's got like 40 seconds. Well, it's a little bit more, like 42 seconds until it's done or something like that. That's about 2 vulture rallies, right? Okay, let's look. So he's laying this. I think that this tactic is amazing. This was really good. So he lays a couple mines and then just sits this here. So this is like hectic things are about to happen. So he sets up 1 vulture that could change the game, right? If we have hectic things happening and the probes come down and this kills 7-8 probes, game's completely different. So this is like, I really like the idea here. Obviously it brings 1 unit out of the battle, but I think it's worth. So as he comes up, this is 7 dragoons, 1 zealot that he can see. Okay. So like this is engageable, what you see here. It's literally like the difference between 7 and 8 goons is gigantic. You know, if they're taking like 2 volleys, obviously it comes down to micro too, right? Like if you're good enough to be like, okay, we target these on this and then 1 on this and the rest target this or something. Okay, we start getting really efficient with that, but there's like limits to human micro. Okay, let's take a look. We'll even slow this down a little bit. So he comes in, right? The Zealot is doing a great job tanking here. Okay, Zealots take a ton of hits from tanks. So you can see that right now, the Dragoons are actually whittling things down back here, taking no real damage. And the Zealot is taking literally like 2 volleys from all the units. So that Zealot did very well. And now you see that he's got more, right? So now we're up to 9 Dragoons as the Zealot dies. And you're looking at this army, and this just doesn't beat that anymore, right? Like, if you get a good mine or something, it can still beat it, right? Things can go wrong for Protoss. Things can go right for Terran. But looking at this very realistically, are you going to be able to really do something here? And on top of that, think about the scaling, okay? So, siege mode still going. We have, let's call this 30 seconds left on siege mode. But the scaling is a really important thing to talk about, because as you hit 8 goons, suddenly the goons are scaling really well. But guess what? If you have 3 tanks with siege mode and you have 8 vultures in front of them, oh, well, that actually scaled better than the 8 goons, right? So taking these things into consideration, the actual forced engagement pre-siege here, it's like he's playing into the hands of his opponent. right? It's hard to go forward and lay the mines and do the attack. But sitting behind mines is a lot easier. If the like, let's say this army is sitting here and this army's trying to attack. Okay? That's very different because as they move up towards mine range, you can move the tanks up to attack, but they can't dive on the tanks or they'll get hit by the mines. So they still have to deal with the mines. Here, you're diving beyond your mines with no mines there. So like if these goons stay away from those mines and you're pushing forward, suddenly the goons can walk forward and pick off your tanks. So let's take a look in slow motion here, right? So he pushes forward and you can see the goons take the step forward here because they're not near those mines anymore, right? Pick off a tank. Some targeting here. He's splitting back a little bit because he didn't actually target that well on the mines. But he's still got 8 here. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, some of these are getting low and he's picking them off with the tanks a little bit. Yeah, he's picking them off with the tanks a little bit. There's an observer in there. But this is not, it's like, okay, maybe I'll kill this one. Maybe I'll kill this one with perfect targeting. Maybe you could kill that one too. Pulling back the observer, he can see it there. The goons are kind of chasing. His retreat mines are kind of far away. He has more vultures running up. And watch this, okay? So, like, siege is going to finish, and he sieges here. And so now this is 2 tanks and 3 vultures. And suddenly the goons can't really do anything. They come up here and he's like, oh shit, no, this is going real bad. He's starting to lose all his goons and everything. So what I'm talking about here, and I know that this is kind of getting long, is this is where I think that speed messed up was this engagement. And I don't understand the theory behind engaging the army here. If you way out micro your opponent, you get a lucky mine, something like that, okay, it could snowball. But siege finished at this moment, right? So, like, let's say it finished at 740 or something like that, right? And this engage up here, so he didn't have that long, right? Siege is done in less than 30 seconds here. And he's trading everything. Again, I feel like if you're kind of poking and prodding, you're sitting back maybe slightly more defensively, right? Like what I was talking about before, you have some mines, the goons start to come up, you can push the tanks. He could have bought time and kept building the vulture count and had 3 tanks with siege mode plus a bunch of vultures and moved back swiftly, got them into position over here, and suddenly the engagement's terrible. You know, the shuttle's coming out. He's going to have to put stuff in the shuttle, try to break it. You still have some Marines. You push the shuttle back. You know, you're dropping a Dragoon on tanks and 8-10 vultures are there to hit it. So this type of move in general isn't even that popular anymore. It was really popular a year and a half ago. But Protosses have gotten very good at holding it, as you can see. And as soon as it doesn't work, you're mega behind. So look, he's even going to lose some goons, right? Loses some goons. But look at this position now. 56 workers to 38 workers. Nothing to speak of at home. The only thing he's added is +1. Nothing special at all going on. Way far behind. The 3 factory has absolutely not done its job. So if you're going to do builds like this, I feel like you really have to have a very clear decision tree on how you're going to execute it, because the thing is Speed is such a good player, and I think that this is like this is an important thing to take into consideration. A lot of pro gamers are so good at like micro and macro and multitasking that they'll just win positions like that all the time. Like this guy, if he plays it right, Speed is like a 2800 MMR player. Paralyze is like 2700 or something like that, right? So they're like right up there at ASL levels. But if he's playing anyone under the top 20 Protoss in the world, he probably crushes them with this. But is he supposed to crush people with this that are a similar level to him? I would say no, right? Not with the type of attack he did. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this analysis. This type of thing, by the way, I just want to mention, because I do this sometimes and people are like, oh no, I do like that, and if I don't, I'll just turn it off. But like when I do something like this, it actually really helps me too, because it kind of clarifies my thinking on these things, being able to explain it to you guys. So I'm really glad that some people do enjoy it, because it actually really helps my game. Like, generally, when I cast a game like this and see a position like this and talk about this, I'll then try it that night on stream, like the same type of build. I won't tell people because you haven't seen the cast yet, but and then I'll take what I've actually kind of clarified my thinking on and put it into practice. So yeah, this 3 factory play, I don't mind the 3 factory play, right? It's a somewhat popular thing. If your opponent is not getting range quickly with something like a Nexus First, you don't need to get siege mode so you can afford the 3rd factory. That's the important thing. You don't need to get turrets that quick so you can afford the 3rd factory. It's a very expensive build, but you have to execute it correctly. Yeah. Okay. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.